Hello. We're going to talk about your Meadow Poster that I dropped off at your house sometime this past week. So I would like you to go get it and spread it out on the table or on the floor, wherever is comfortable for you, and we'll look at it together. Pause the recording if you'd like and go find your Meadow Poster. Okay, do you have it? The first thing we're going to do with the Meadow Poster, we're not going to worry about any of the little pieces that we can add to it. We're just going to look at this poster all by itself, because this poster has so many things on it, so much to look at, so much to check out. So take a minute and just look at it. And you probably see lots of things on there, lots of different kinds of plants, lots of different kinds of insects, some birds. I even see some deer. So the first thing I want to talk to you about are these birds back here, flying up high away in the sky. And at first glance, they just look like blackbirds, but when I held my magnifying glass up to it, I discovered that their heads and necks were red, and that means that they are turkey vultures. Perhaps you can see them with your own eyes, but I know I had to use my magnifying glass to see that their heads were red. On this one particularly, you can see that he's got a red head and neck, and so that means he's a turkey vulture. So there must be something in that field that's dead, that they're circling around to get something to eat. But let's look at the down in the field a little bit over to the right here, and you'll see there's deer. I believe there are 3 of them back there. Yeah, I see 3. So, did you find them? Good. Well, now I want to look at a little bit lower on the poster, and you know what catches my eye first, because it's so bright and colorful, is right here. And I'm sure most of you, if not every single one of you, know this insect's name. Yes, it's a monarch butterfly. We know that because it's kind of orange, and sometimes they're a little bit yellow and orange. They're monarch butterflies, and the black, of course. So there's the monarch butterfly. And this monarch butterfly is on a plant here called milkweed plant. And the reason it's called a milkweed plant is because if you were to break the stem, a white milky substance comes out of it. So that's why it's called a milkweed plant. But this milkweed plant is particularly interesting because the entire life cycle of the butterfly is shown on this one milkweed plant. So I'm going to try to point out some different things to you. Let's see. Now, butterflies have to look very carefully to find places to lay their eggs. And they only lay 1 egg per plant. And they lay them on the underneath side of a leaf. So I know that the artist who made these posters wanted us to be able to see them. So I found a couple different things that I thought could be the egg of the butterfly, and that they're just kind of showing us, even though it would be underneath a leaf. Like, I believe that could be an egg of a butterfly. I wonder if you can see that through my magnifying glass. Can you, let me see. Can you see that at all? Let me see, put my finger here. Do you see where I'm pointing to? Does that help you find that? Whoop, down there, yeah. Yeah, can you see that? That may be it. Or perhaps this is it over here, right here on that leaf. So I think maybe one of those 2 things is the butterfly egg. And then that egg hatches open, and a caterpillar crawls out of it. And the caterpillars that come from monarch butterflies are black and yellow striped. And so you see there's a little caterpillar skin now right here, right there, the little caterpillar skin. And what happens is the caterpillars keep bursting out of their skin as they get bigger and bigger. And so there's one that he's discarded and left it there on the leaf. And here I think is like probably his last one. And when they get big enough, then they just hang it upside down on the stem somewhere. And then that hangs here for a long time until he finally becomes a butterfly. And then here, of course, here is the butterfly. So you see the egg, and then the caterpillar, and then finally the butterfly. So you see the whole life cycle of, well, the whole cycle up to this point, right here on this one milkweed plant. That's kind of special, I think. This bird here is also quite colorful. He's the meadowlark, and he's supposed to have the prettiest voice in the meadow. And I believe that may be true because he's got a beautiful whistle, beautiful clear sound, and you can usually hear him. Sometimes it's sundown, like around 5:30, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night. They're very, very nice sound, and we'll listen to his voice a little bit later on. Now, can anybody find a ladybug on the poster? I've only found one of them, but I found them, and I knew it was a ladybug even before I used my magnifying glass. So, yes, it's right here on this leaf. See that little teeny red spotted bug there? That's a ladybug. And for those of you who live in Delaware, did you know that's our state bug? You probably didn't even know we had a state bug, because I didn't know that till about 10 years ago. But we have a state bug, and it's a ladybug. Oh, I forgot to mention one thing about the meadowlark. The meadowlarks build their nests, not in trees, but on the ground in tall grasses. And can you see the little meadowlarks in that nest down there? Yep, you found them. So here is a sparrow, and sparrows fly throughout the meadow. And that's who that is. What else do you see on this? What other animal do you see? Or bug or bird or, you know, anything that you see that is in this meadow. I've got some down here on this anthill. And so, of course, they're ants. Can you see them all down there? I find them to be hard to identify until I use a magnifying glass. And then as soon as I put the magnifying glass up there, I can see clearly that it's an ant, that it's several ants. And, of course, they're on that anthill that they like to build. And then I've got one more bug I want to tell you about. And I never knew about this bug until I started teaching about this poster. And this bug is called a spittlebug. And spittlebugs are only about the size of my pinky finger. So about that big in length. So only that big. Yep, about ½ an inch or even less, 3/8 of an inch. So when they break out of their little egg, they produce this white foam that protects them, and that's called the spittlebug house. So can you find a little patch of white? It's not the flower head like there or like here, but a little patch of white somewhere else. Yes, right there. Right down there, right above my finger. That's the spittlebug house. And if you look right above it and to the left on this green leaf right here, you will see the spittlebug crawling out of there. Isn't that something? So, I want to tell you a little bit about the plants. Now, meadows sometimes grow up naturally because, well, they always grow up naturally unless somebody plants a meadow, but sometimes you'll see them, like in the White Clay Creek, I walk through the woods, and then all of a sudden, you end up in this very large meadow, and that's just you know, beautiful when you get there. But there's also meadows that grow up because it may be a piece of land that had been developed at one point and then let go. For instance, there's a golf course not far from here that was no longer being kept as a golf course, and a meadow has grown up there. And it at once it looks wild, but if you look a little bit more closely, it's beautiful because of all the trees and plants and all the wildlife that's in there. It's really kind of an interesting thing to look at. So we're going to talk about some of the plants that we see on here. So I'm going to start with these blue flowers here. This is a member of the daisy family, and it is actually called chicory. And chicory has been used as a substitute for coffee in times when there were wars on, like World War II, when you couldn't get coffee, people used to drink chicory. And even though by itself it was kind of nasty, people now blend it with coffee because they say it makes the coffee taste better sometimes. And I know that that's what they serve a lot in New Orleans. So in different parts of the country, maybe even different parts of the world, I'm not sure about that, they use chicory with their coffee. And that's that blue flower there. Another flower that I want to point out to you is the clover. And these are clovers, these pinkish, purplish kind of heads that you see here, and maybe there's a couple more over here. They're clover. And clover grows up in people's lawns unless they treat for it, because it's just a weed. But I think it's a particularly pretty leaf because of the flower head that comes on it. And sometimes it is that color first, and then it then becomes white. I've seen it I've seen both ways, so but I don't remember which one comes first. I think the white comes last. So, and then this flower here that looks like what's it called? A sweet pea flower. Now your mom might have some in her garden, but that is called an everlasting pea. And it's different from a sweet pea because sweet peas grow straight up on stems, and this one kind of lays along the ground and then shoots up a little flower here and there. And sometimes those flowers can be white, and sometimes they can be yellow. The milkweed plant we've already talked about a great deal, right? The milkweed, and why it's called milkweed is because it has this milky liquid that comes out if you break the stem. And I'd like to talk to you about goldenrod a little bit. Here's a goldenrod plant. So this very tall plant that has the gold on the top. And here's another one. Very tall stalk. And then there's yellow flowers at the top. I'm going to talk to you some more about goldenrod, but I want to just wait a second and tell you about Queen Anne's lace. So I got to find that one. Queen Anne's lace would be this white flower here. And it's called Queen Anne's lace because it's very, very delicate, and it looks like the lace collars that they used to wear in the time of Queen Anne. So I think they're all the flowers and plants I want to point out to you. This is just a fern that grows in the meadows. And I forget exactly what kind of fern that is. I can tell you another time, but I forget right at the moment what kind of fern it is. But now I want to tell you about the goldenrod. So the goldenrod is where that ladybug was. Remember the ladybug I asked you to find? There he is on the goldenrod plant. So in our little pieces that we can add to the poster, one of the pieces is the goldenrod plant. So, and if you look at this goldenrod plant up close, you can see lots of different bugs on it or insects. So let's see what we see. I think that right here, this guy with the pointy legs right next to my finger is a grasshopper. And the one above him with the bulging eyes is called a praying mantis. And it's called a praying mantis because he holds his hands like this as though he were in prayer. That's how his front paws usually look. So he's a praying mantis. And then this one way up at the top, that is a goldenrod spider. And you can tell that's who that is because he always sits in the top so that he can easily see what's below him, and then he can pounce on them. So if there's any flies or any bees, like the poor unfortunate bee over here, he can pounce on them and have them for dinner. Glad I don't have to eat bees for dinner. Let's see, is there anybody else on this? Well, there's a fly above here in the corner. And I think maybe that is the only one on the goldenrod piece I wanted to tell you about. So, that's the end of this video. I'll send you another one next week where we'll listen to all the sounds. Bye.